We're going to go ahead and try and get started. We might have a few more people jump in as we're getting going. Miss Aaron's here this evening. She's our assistant director and has been helping with the process of registration. My name is Charlotte Brady. I'm the director of the Cocalico Care Center if we haven't met specifically. We also have Matt Matt Paul is our consistory president, and he was just going to do a quick little welcome so that we can get started with a little bit of information and then go directly into the slideshow for everyone.
Well, thanks, Charlotte. I apologize for technical difficulties, or somehow the Zoom meeting that was scheduled a month ago, something changed, and we just realized it at the last minute. So as Charlotte said, my role here is the consistory president, which is basically the group that oversees the entire organization of St. John's, which includes the Cocalico Care Center. So I just want to, on behalf of St. John's, welcome all families, whether you've used us in the past, whether you're currently using us, or this is your first time. We know picking a child care provider is a very important decision, and we are grateful to have that opportunity to care for your children here. I know our staff are eager to start a school year, and they're preparing and to make sure your child has a successful and rewarding year ahead. Obviously, safety will always be our top priority here. So we certainly appreciate your cooperation, and I know there's certain things that are somewhat of an inconvenience right now, but we appreciate everyone's patience and cooperation with those matters. So I'm going to turn it back over to Charlotte.
Thanks, Matt. All right, what I'm going to do is basically just some of the housekeeping stuff for tonight. Some of you are brand new, so welcome. Some of you are returning families that maybe have been here with us for a few weeks as we've gotten started once the daycare was allowed to reopen in June. But for some of you tonight, it's the first time we're seeing you since March, so we're really excited to see you and have you back in the program. What we're going to do is, as I get the screen shared, we're going to keep everyone on mute because we want to be conscientious of the fact that we know people have questions, but we don't want to take up a 3-hour window of your time tonight. So we are actually recording this so that it can be posted for people to view later. And Erin is going to be watching the chat box so that if we get to the end of the night, we have some major questions we can answer for you, we'll do that. But just know that individual questions will be directed to you individually later this week. We'll try and reach out to you by telephone or email to answer those sessions. So I'm going to take a second and share my screen here so that we can try and get this running. All right, here's the first one again. It's not letting me do. All right, it looks like, Erin, is that my desktop?
Yes.
All right, it's trying to load again. We'll also go ahead and try and make a fact sheet for everyone to see as we get into the questions so that will also be posted for everyone. So hopefully you can all see that. Erin, can you see the main screen now that we're in? Okay, great. So again, it's going to be in a very unusual year. We're doing the best we can to keep as much routine as we can for the sake of the children. However, unfortunately, to try and keep the building clean, make sure we're not having a bunch of extra people in and out, we've decided to do the back to school night tonight via Zoom. So over the course of this quick presentation, we're going to make sure we hit on some website information, just general center information and the registration process. I might ask Erin to jump in around that registration discussion just so that she can talk a little bit more about the emails that were sent out with paperwork. We're going to go through some of the updates that have to do with the CCC health policies and basically COVID-19. And really what that means for your drop-off and pickup procedures. That's going to be the biggest change for families that you'll notice just because we're gonna need to be doing some things during that screening process. We'll take a brief minute just to touch on tuition payment processing and how we have an emergency notification system in place. And then we don't actually have the teachers here this evening. In the next couple weeks, you'll be getting some letters that will have pictures of the teachers with their classroom information going out, specifically about their rooms, but we'll see some tours that go along with just some pictures that have been taken of our various preschool and school age classrooms the kids will be visiting this year. And then at the end, as I said, we'll leave that time for some basic questions and answers that we feel we can answer for the good of the whole that will show up in the chat box. But again, if there's something individual, we'll go ahead and make sure that we get to you in person. So with that being said, please don't forget in the chat box, if you can use your student's name to sign in, it'll help us know who's here and who maybe we need to catch up with that couldn't make it this evening. And we'll just go right into the slideshow where we wanted to introduce you to the Cocalico Care Center webpage. If you have not visited that page, it's where we try to do a lot of information. So you'll see in the top corner there in blue is the web address. One of the main things that we ask people to be able to notice there is with that red arrow, our CCC staff are listed. So if you would click on that tab, you have access to the email addresses for the office, myself, and then some of the different classroom teachers that you might want to directly speak to via email. So that's just an important place that you can visit to get that information, to reach out to people if you're not making a phone call. Also on the screen, like the main web page, the yellow tab that you see there is an emergency notice area. We also have a calendar. So we try to keep center information up to date on the calendar. If you're looking for classroom specific information, you're going to be getting that from your children's teachers via email each week. And they even will send out monthly information as well. There's a tools tab that you can visit, and that is the important button on our home screen. It's where our family handbook is located. It has copies of our child health assessment form, so that if you're ever needing to load that to go and have that signed during renewal times for annual health assessments, you can find that form there. And it's also where we're going to have some other information that relates to newsletters that go out and hopefully updates that might come out with any COVID changes that we find. The enrollment tab is not necessarily a tab that you have to visit as current families. That is a tab that people who are visiting us for the first time on our webpage have the ability to click that link and get to either Erin or myself so that we know we can help them with enrollment questions. For you, the enrollment purpose is Erin has taken care of that with the electronic forms that were sent out this year. So all you'll have to do is complete the paperwork that were sent, and we'll help get that together. So Erin, I don't know if you want to say anything about that email with those forms yet.
Yeah, we can do that real fast. So all the forms should have been sent electronically as 2 separate attachments. The one attachment is all of the paperwork that you would need to complete and return to us. You can return it to us whether you email it back to myself, or you're welcome to mail it back to us, or even drop it off here at the center. We're open between 6 and 6. And the other attachment should have been the information that you would get to keep just to have to read over. And then school agers 1st through 5th grade also had a 3rd attachment with their transportation information if your children go to either Reamstown or Adamstown Elementary School.
And I think there was a deadline for the forms for this Friday. So if you don't know what we're talking about, please just give us a phone call and we'll make sure we get those packets to you. Again, we tried to tweak things pretty quick during the month of July and turn everything into writable PDFs so that you can just open it, type information in your computer, save it, and send it back to us. And if you're having any difficulty with electronic signatures, you could just leave that blank. We will print them out here, and that first week of care, get the signatures during the beginning parts of enrollment. And as I said, that yellow tab, that emergency notice area, that's the important area. We always try and send information out through WGAL if it has to do with weather. We use that emergency tab there where you'll see notices going across. And we now have our new emergency text alert system that maybe some of you even got a message tonight from. talking about the new Zoom invite so that we could get on to the meeting this evening. So that just flashes across the top anytime we have an emergency notice going. The next part kind of ties into some of the forms that you're seeing, and we just wanted to make sure that people understood this year we have the addition of a 2-day option. That is new for us this year for both our preschool and our school age programming. If any families had been with us in the past, we used to have weekly scheduling slips that they would turn in. Those are not necessary. Instead, what we'll be doing is we're going to be basing care on the days and the times that you're selecting on these financial agreements. So as you're filling these forms out this week, I made an example here for Carter, and it just says that he's going to be attending 2 days a week, and then we're asking that you list the 2 days that you're hoping to use that care. If it's 5 days a week, you can just put down full-time 5 days, but we just wanted to make sure you understood that any dates could be helpful in regards to the specific days of the week, because we're trying to keep those the same. And then what happens is, as we're going into each week, families have ledger cards here in the computer that we will go ahead and we will post tuition every Monday. So you can see an example on this screen for Paul. Monday the 27th, we went in and we put the tuition in that was due for that week of the 27th to the 31st of July. And families have up until Friday to process their payments so that when we come in Monday morning, we can see that the payments have been made for the week's care that just happened. A report will run in the morning before we go in the next day, that Monday, to put in the next tuition. And that's where you'll see a late payment might show up if the payment doesn't go through for the week before. So it ends up being that $20 fee that would add on. And the example on this screen was the payment didn't come in through that Friday or the weekend, so the late payment generated on that. So we just wanted to make sure people understood how that works with doing the payments and the processing of tuition showing up for your care each Monday. If you are concerned about doing payments yourself, we do have a preferred method that we are glad to do here in the office, that you have a form that should have been in a packet that you can share either credit card information or checking account information. And what we do as a staff is we go in on Fridays and generate that pull to happen on Friday for you if you've given us that information. So it helps prevent late fees if someone is worried about getting in and remembering to do that each week for themselves. But it is an option, and so just know that you have that ability to decide if you want to go ahead and process those. So there's Miss Erin posing for our temperature taking and some of the new things we're going to be doing. What will happen is we've created 2 temperature stations in our lobby. So the church office window, that screen you would have just seen before where Erin was standing, and this small desk with a plexiglass area have been created so that we can help 2 families at a time during drop-off and pickup routines. Our building has decided to use the barrier protection process that's been recommended for taking temperatures. So what'll happen is staff will stand behind the glass barrier. They're gonna reach around with a gloved hand to take the temperature using our infrared forehead thermometers. We do have 2 different types of thermometers available, and we're doing the best to get our most accurate readings for the kids as they're coming in. So the kids would stand on a little mark on the floor there. We'd take that scanning. If we have any concern that it doesn't seem like it's an accurate reading, we did go ahead and get an oral thermometer that we can use and take the temperature under the arm, and by adding a degree, create the formula that's needed for taking temperatures that way to kind of get that baseline for coming in and out. So we will be taking everyone's temperatures in the morning as they arrive, and there'll be some screening questions that we'll go through so that you can help us make sure that we have the most up-to-date information about your child's health. While all this screening is happening, we're asking that families are practicing social distancing strategies as they wait their turn for the morning drop-off. Some pink lines have been put down with duct tape to note areas that families can wait under the roof area if the lobby is already occupied with 2 families. So I tried taking a picture there. You can see it kind of staggers 6 feet apart, that there'd be 1 person right by the door, another person halfway back through the roofed area, and a third person that would be right there at the edge of the roof if there are people inside the lobby currently being helped. So we're going to do our best to get things done as quickly as we can, but just understand that if it seems like there's a little bit of a backlog there, we're working as quickly as we can. And if you don't mind waiting at your car until some of those spots become available, we're going to have 2 people working as fast as we can to get people in and out. So some of those screening questions that we're going to go through each morning at drop-off definitely has to, one, focus around the fever and have they had a fever of 100 degrees or more in the last 24 hours. Another question that we're being asked to check on is the child experiencing any new cough, runny nose, sore throat, or congestion. Do they have any nausea, diarrhea, or vomiting that they've been complaining about? Have they started experiencing any trouble breathing? Or have they had a rash or maybe an unusual discoloration on the body, especially the toes, we're being told is a place that could signify something's going on. Another screening question that they have us asking that kind of ties into some of the symptoms that go along with COVID is there any experience with fatigue and fussiness or a headache that a child might be complaining about? We're also going to be checking to make sure that the child's not been around someone else who is sick or has been diagnosed with a positive COVID-19 classification. The last question just kind of deals with just an overall exposure to someone who maybe is possibly suspected of having COVID-19. In this case, we're asking children to follow the isolation or quarantine guidelines that families are being given. So I'll give you an example of if you work in a business and you are notified by your business that you've possibly been exposed to someone, we're asking that the child follows what you are being asked to follow at your work so that they're not coming in possibly with an illness that isn't presenting symptoms yet. And our office is really willing to work with you there and kind of work through what we can as we're figuring it out. One of the main things is if your child starts to exhibit any of the symptoms while they're at the center, we will reach out to you, we will give you a call, and we'll let you know that we've taken them to our conference room, which has been turned into our isolation room, where a teacher will hang with the child, make sure they're comfortable, take nap things or something that they can lay down on if they're really not feeling well, while we're giving you a call and asking for families to come pick up. Part of the policy is we are asking that if you receive a call about a sick child, that someone is able to make it here within 1 hour of the telephone call. So you're always welcome to let us know if you have someone else designated to come pick them up if they're ill. And if any of these symptoms would arise at home, we're just asking that you please notify us. So when you're calling in and letting us know that the kids are not feeling well and not going to be in, you're kind of letting us know what the symptoms are that they're dealing with. We have an answering machine that's available that you can leave this message on if nobody is able to pick up the phone at that point. And then we're always telling all of the families, please just stay in touch with your family doctors for any health concerns and just follow the recommendations that they're asking in regards to how it might apply to a possible COVID-19 symptom. Our illness policies, basically, really the only major thing that has changed with that illness policy is because of COVID, there is a 72-hour now window that we have to be cautious of. So if a child has a fever, they can return to the center with a doctor's note if you have it, or they just need to be symptom-free for the 72 hours without the use of medication. And again, like we said, if someone in the household is being asked to quarantine due to a possible exposure, we're just asking that the child's following that same quarantine as a household member that maybe has then been in touch with you. If anyone, staff or student here at the care center tests positive for COVID-19, we've made it our policy, we will be notifying not only families and staff, but some appropriate agencies that we need to reach out to. And just know that with some of these steps to follow cleaning and disinfecting procedures that we're being given, it's very possible that we might be told that we'd have to shut down for 48 hours to do the appropriate cleaning. And so we will make sure all that information gets out to you right away via email, emergency text alerts or that yellow tab that happens across our screen there on the homepage. Families are still going to receive a 2, 3, or 5 day vacation or sick day credit that you have the ability to use during the school year based off of your financial agreements. So if you're a family that's signing up to use us 3 days a week through the year, and you have either something planned that the child won't be in on that designated day, or they do end up feeling ill and you keep them home, you have the ability to let us know you'd like to use one of those credits, and we can adjust those into the tuition so that you have those available through up till June, when we kind of go into our summer mode then. And we will always be willing to discuss special arrangements with families if you need to quarantine when it comes to tuition. The scenario is really going to be reviewed on a case-by-case basis, and we're going to start to set a more definite policy if needed, if we find that families are being impacted by this. An example for right now is, you know, if we've had somebody out this summer, whether they vacationed and chose to self-quarantine on their own, or they were in a business where they were notified possibly they had a contamination, we've been doing the child's absent for that 2 weeks as just tuition free. So it's not a guarantee that that will continue. If we're starting to see the numbers rise, we might have to tweak some things and put something in place so that we are making sure that we're not charging full tuition, but don't have tons of empty rooms and spaces because we weren't having to shut down necessarily for that 48-hour window. Where we're going to need some families' help this year is, if your schedule permits, we're just asking for your help to stagger drop-off and pickup times. We're guessing right now, we don't have all the financial agreements in, but we're guessing the busier times of the day are going to be between that 6:45 and 7:45 window, and a 4:30 to 5:30. So even though we're going to have 2 people doing the temperatures, we know there could be lots of people with their work schedules having to get into work, that there could be a little bit of a backup, and we're just asking for your patience. We're going to go through things as quick as we can. And if you have any ability to stagger your drop-off and pickup times to try and avoid those busier times, that might be helpful. Otherwise, you're more than welcome to arrange to get here a little earlier, just so you know you're giving yourself the extra time to get the children into care and get yourself to work on time. One of the areas that we've focused on in the classrooms to really try and help keep things safe and healthy for the kids and prevent cross-contamination is that all of the teachers are working on preparing individual bins for the students' use that will basically hold a lot of the art supplies or materials that they might need for writing. So we're asking if families have the ability to help supply a box of crayons, a small box of markers, and a glue stick for their child. We will supply the bin and the remainder of the items that we will be putting in there, like pencils and scissors and paper and things like that. Another area that we're asking for some help is, it's a little more predominant in the summer, but through the school year, families like to have water bottles accessible for the children in the classrooms. Since June, we've been working on reusable water bottles that have stayed here in the classrooms, and we've been washing and sanitizing them. But with the school year starting and the sheer number of children that'll be in the classrooms coming and going on different days, we're asking that we just use disposable water bottles, that if you would like your child to have water, send a water bottle in labeled with their name on it. The teachers in the classrooms will have gallon jugs of water that we can refill those bottles if the children need drinks through the day. And then at the end of the night, we'll just be filling them into our recycle bin so that the plastic can get recycled, and we just start the next day fresh with new water bottles coming in. If your child attends programming where you're sending a lunch in, we're asking that the lunches are also disposable so that paper bags and plastic sandwich bags can just be thrown out as the child's done eating. If you have any other specific questions about water bottles and lunches, the teachers will be helping address that in some of their information. But again, something that we're changing a little bit from this summer's practice into taking place that first week of school in August is that we're asking families have 2 masks here at the center. We've been keeping the masks here, washing and sanitizing them each night for the children as they're done using them, so that they have a clean, mask to put on to stay safe through the day when they're needing it. But with, again, school year changing and more classrooms opening, the ability for our teachers to get all those masks cleaned and sanitized in one evening to be ready for 6 a.m. or 5:45 in the morning the next day, it's going to be really hard. So we're hoping that by having 2 masks here, the child will wear a mask. When it's dirty, it'll go into our cleaning bin for the night. The next day when they arrive, they're putting on their second mask that is clean while we're sanitizing and disinfecting the mask that was worn the previous day. When it comes to the masks, just know the teachers are going to be wearing masks at all time. This is an area that is really important to us. It's now become part of our yearly inspection regs. So teachers will be having those masks on at all times. Students are asked to be wearing their masks and have them with them. The preschoolers, what we've done is we've gone and bought some lanyards so that it can be clipped onto the mask. I kind of remember having a little clip for my children. I called it their bippy or their pacifier, so that if they're lowering their mask down to have that break, because they don't have to have it on, we don't have to worry about the masks falling to the ground. The lanyards will help catch it if it is coming further off of their face than they're expecting. So we're providing all the lanyards for the preschoolers to kind of help with that. But masks will definitely be lowered during gross motor activities, following all of the CDC guidelines and recommendations. If the students are involved in individual activities where they are 6 feet or more apart, we're definitely going to have that ability for them to lower and raise their masks based on those social distancing practices. So just know that we're going to be working to keep them in environments where they have the ability to have them down, and if we can be outside doing some activities or take a lunch break outside one special day that's really nice, we're going to do as much of that as we can. We're getting to the classroom part of the day, so I just have some slides quick here to show you some of the rooms. This is our Oak classroom that our full day 3- and 4-year-olds use. Again, we've moved some things out and we've tried spreading things out. The teachers are going to be working in all of the rooms to adjust how they've been doing activities. So they might not have all the children at the tables at one time, so that they can be spread out even during the tables while they're doing activities and taking their lunch breaks. Our other preschool classrooms are the Dogwood and Maple room, which are our 4s and 5-year-olds. One of the rooms here is just shown as, you know, set up that, again, it's the space that they can go divide out. Our Dogwood room is in the process of being reset up. It's this summer been used as our storage area, so we didn't have necessarily a picture of that, but both of those rooms are set usually pretty much the same way in regards to similar centers and activities that are being offered for the children. As we get into our kindergarten students that are rotating through the district with their AM and PM placements, you'll see the green classroom that's pictured there is our downstairs classroom. It's called the Birch Tree room. That room can hold up to 20 children at one time. Again, we're going to try and see what we can do with limiting things so that they have that ability to spread out and be apart from each other. But this year we're trying to create an overflow classroom. It's the blue classroom that you'll see in that picture there upstairs that's going to be able to help assist us with having up to 10 more children sort of spread out as we're servicing our kindergarten students here in the building, coming and going from Denver, Reamstown, and Adamstown. When we get to our school age students, our 1st through 5th graders, we have a space that we dedicate specifically for 1st graders if teachers have the ability to break them out from the large group. That's the picture that you'll see there with the little decoration balls hanging from the classroom. It's a nice large room. The state allows us to have up to 20 children in there at one time, and so a teacher and a helper can take those 1st graders up to give them some of their own personal space while we're working through the before and after school time. The other picture that you see there is our room that we show or share with our 4th and 5th graders to give them a chance again to come up and have table space if they're working on homework or projects that they need to get done during some of the after school hours. If they're together as one large group, we utilize our fellowship hall. We're allowed to have up to 45 students in this area. But again, we try to staff so that we can break out into those extra rooms. So they might be sharing it for space if it's a smaller group that day. But ultimately, as we get into the routine of back to school, our hope is that the second and third graders are mostly housed in this room, while the first graders go upstairs to their individual space with teachers, and the fourth and fifth graders divide out into their room. So those are the main classrooms that you'll be seeing. And again, just don't forget, we'll be sending out specific letters from the classroom teachers. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up to Erin, who was trying to watch the chat box to see if any questions came in that we could kind of cover for you. But just know we'll go ahead and anything that's been shared in the chat box tonight, we will type up a fact sheet and send those answers out to you all through email, and then also post it on the webpage under that tools section so that you have access to that and look at it. One last document that I wanted to share as Erin's kind of looking that over and seeing if we need anything is starting yesterday, we did go ahead and on our website, there's a document that looks like this. It's our summary of our health and safety plan that's been posted on the webpage, and you'll be able to find that actually on the home screen, that if you click the link to it, it'll open up the box that explains all of the different areas that we've put some things in place for our health and safety plan, dealing with masks, how we're doing cleaning and disinfecting, how we're working on social distancing and other protocols, as well as monitoring children's and staff's health and other considerations. So that will be there. It's a document that's sort of a working document that as changes are happening to it, we'll update it there on that web page that you always have access to that. So Erin, I don't know if there's some things that we could go ahead and maybe help adjust for people.
Well, at this point, no one has asked any questions on the chat box. So I'm just gonna say, if you didn't know how to get to that, it's down at the very bottom of your screen. There should be a little link that says chat. If you click on that, you should be able to chat to either everyone in the group or just myself or Charlotte. So feel free to type us a message and chat and ask a question. If you think of something throughout the night or week or whenever, feel free to send me or Charlotte an email, and we check them every day. We will get back to you as soon as possible. But at this point, I don't see any chat in the box, although let me see here. We've got some hands. Okay.
Hey, Erin.
Yes.
This is Michelle Hull.
Okay, I thought I did it the right way.
Chat
Okay.
is disabled.
Oh,
yeah.
Maybe that's why there's no
chat.
chat.
The chat's disabled, Erin.
That would be why we don't see any. All right, let's get that figured out.
Erin, that's probably Matt, with us having to change the format so fast because of that technical difficulty, that's might be the issue. So maybe if somebody has the ability to raise their hand and they want to ask a question, that's good.
Charlotte, I think I just changed the security setting on that. So let me, let's see if other people can do it now.
It's fixed.
Very good.
Awesome.
Thank you. No wonder nobody had any questions. All right, well, go ahead. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in and send them. If you already tried to send one, we did not get it.
And we really appreciate everybody's flexibility with trying this new format. I mean, you guys are all our very first attempt. We've done, during our mandated closing from March through June, the teachers were doing online Zoom meetings and training sessions, and we were holding meetings this way. But this is really our first chance at trying to provide this medium as a way of families getting to either talk with us or hear from us regarding center information. So even if you have any other thoughts or ideas of how we could improve this type of a system, send it to us in an email, because we'd love to be able to try and tweak some of this, because unfortunately, I'm guessing that this year is going to be a crazy year. We're already seeing some of the things coming out from the school with all of their different plans of how they might change or tweak things through the course of a school year. And I know, I guess for us, we're going to have to be as flexible as we can. And so if we ever are in the scenario where we can't have people coming into the building, we wanted this to be an option for them. So we appreciate you helping us with this as we get started with this new venture.
Okay, now we have some questions.
Awesome.
So Charlotte, the first question I have here is about water bottles. referring to store-bought water bottles such as like the Dasani or Deer Park.
Yeah, and that's what we're hoping to use. I'm a recycler. I hate all of the extra plastics and stuff that go into the world out there, but we just don't have the ability to do those washable, almost like big bottles or things like that. So yes, those Deer Park or 12 to 16 ounce plastic water bottles that you might buy in a pack of 24 or 36 at the grocery store is exactly what we're talking about. That way we can help refill it through the day if they've gone through it and they need more water, but we'll just toss it at the end of the night and new ones can come in.
Okay, another one was about for the school age kids coming back after school that aren't with us in the morning and their screening questions.
So what we're going to be doing is working with the school. We're assuming that if you did not get any information from the school during the day that they became ill, that they are still feeling the same as they went off to school. And so we'll be taking their temperature and doing our visual screening of, do they look like themselves? Are they acting themselves? Are they complaining of anything? And then as a staff, we obviously would go ahead and give you a call if for some reason the child is starting to say that they're not feeling well. So for those 1st through 5th graders and even kindergartners, the main thing that we'll be doing on your behalf is that temperature taking and the visual screening.
Okay, another one was for kindergartners. If they're coming from Reamstown or even Adamstown after they're in morning kindergarten, will they be taking a bus from the school?
So yes, you have the ability when you're getting your paperwork from the school to arrange with the transportation office that you need us to be a drop-off or pickup location. The kindergarten year is a very strange year. Because it's half-day kindergarten, I'm not sure how the district rules play into this, but because it's half-day kindergarten, there are buses running through the middle of the day. And we are literally a half a mile from the bus depot, that they've allowed families to be able to designate us as a drop-off or pickup location for the kindergarten year. However, when a child gets into 1st grade and they're a 1st through 5th grader using us from Reamstown or Adamstown, that is technically outside of the busing zones. And so we have contracted a special bus that allows families to use us as 1st through 5th graders, but there ends up being a special transportation fee that applies to those children that does not apply to a kindergartner. So yes, those kindergartners will be using a bus that the district is placing them on. You just have to make sure you're arranging with the district that your child is using us as a Cocalico Care Center student and that they know how to assign them on a bus. We go ahead and send our rosters over to the school offices and the transportation office just so that we're trying to be on the same page with all of the secretaries and the principals and Sue in the transportation office. But I will say, just as a caution, the one thing that can come up for a kindergarten bus student is if you are picking the 2 or 3 day option, I do not believe they will put the child on 2 different buses. They're going to ask that the child's bus remains the same. So in years past, we've had families that are using us on 3 days, that the child comes to us off the bus, we help them get in, we do the care. But if it's the 2 days they're not going to be with us that week, they meet the child here in the parking lot and they just help them get off the bus. So that's the only thing that can be a little confusing when it comes to the bus for kindergartners. And we'll just give us a call. We can help you with that. But Sue is the main person that you would set that up with the transportation office.
Okay, the next question is the disposable lunch for school-age children as well?
Yes, if they would be here on a full day closing for school for teacher in-service day or a weather delay and we're open, we're asking that the lunches are disposable in plastic bags and baggies and paper bags so that we can get rid of that.
Okay, another one, if they're coming in as I'm preschooler, does the center do nap times and do we need to provide sheets and blankets?
So that's going to be information coming from the classroom teachers. If your child is in a room that's doing nap and how they'll do the napping, we have provided this year all of the mats, blankets, and sheets. So you will not need to send any nap materials with 3, 4, or 5-year-olds that are with us full day. Our dogwood and maple rooms, I don't know if Erin, you want to explain that, but Erin helps with those age groups about how she sort of works the napping into their routine.
Yeah, for those kids, because we're getting them ready for their year of kindergarten the following year, we end up having them start the year napping as we would as the other preschool rooms do. And as we go through the year and get into like January or so, we start cutting the nap time shorter and shorter to sort of wean them off of nap by the time we get to mid-May, the end of May. This just helps them to be ready in case they're placed into PM kindergarten, that they're not looking for a 2-hour nap while they're supposed to be at school doing their academics and things. So yeah, and that will every teacher will send out specific information for their classroom in regards to how they do nap, how long nap is, and things like that.
Yeah, and all of those materials this year are new, we've provided.
Yeah, we have a question about if we go to yellow phase, does CCC close?
Okay, so for our full day families, it's going to depend on what you're referring to as the yellow phase. I know the school district has gone ahead and put together what they have as sort of some preliminary plans for 1st through 5th graders, if it's considered yellow, where they have like a hybrid schedule happening for school. We are going to be doing our best, like if it is the governor putting Lancaster County into yellow or being in green labeled, we are open and running. Red is the only area where we have concern about our ability to be here and work. We got thrown off guard like the rest of the world in March when all of a sudden on a Friday afternoon, everybody was shutting down and we were being told places had to close for quarantining and people staying at home. So we were not set up and ready for being open during the red. We didn't even know how many families would be able to use us. So we have found out there is the possibility for a center to apply for waivers. If we get to that point, we will keep families posted in regards to our ability to be open, how many staff we have, and what families we can help. But yeah, that yellow zone, if it's in regards to the school schedule being different, we're going to be doing our best to be open. But we need to know your care needs ahead of time because our capacity is going to be limited and we're going to try and help as many families out as we can with that, but it's going to require us to know some information about their hybrid schedule. It'll have individual pricing that goes along with it and really how many staff we have in regards to being able to care for children. Our half-day preschool program that is not a part of this back to school night this evening. They have their back to school night coming up in 2 weeks. Their classrooms are going to be the ones that will be mostly affected by the yellow and green and red changing zones. So hopefully that answers your question, and you're always welcome to give us a call to get more clarification regarding that.
Another question was any restrictions on the types of food that they're allowed to bring to the center?
We do not have anything specifically other than we ask families not to send soda and we ask them not to send candies, like chocolate and candy. We are not a peanut-free zone. We do our best to accommodate families' allergy requests and needs if it comes to food, but we do not have a peanut-free zone in regards to like maybe peanut allergies. If a child has a nut allergy and they're not allowed to have things, you should be telling us that on your emergency contact pages. And then any snacks that we have here, we'll make sure we monitor they're getting safe items to eat, but you're able to send whatever you need for their individual lunches.
Okay, we have a couple times here about if they're already set up for automatic payments through ProCare, do they have to fill out any of those forms again?
You don't, although the one thing that you can help us catch is expiring dates on credit cards if you've chosen to use the credit card option. So as we get started those first few weeks of school, Erin and I will be seeing some of those things in the systems that we're setting up, and we'll hopefully catch questions for those of you that applies to if we see something might be expiring. But if you gave us bank account information that you were having us do pulls from your banking savings or checking account, that can all stay the same, and we'll just continue going on like we were doing back in March and last school year.
Okay, another question, are face shields allowed?
We have been told that for staff, face shields are an acceptable method as a barrier. We have decided that the teachers are wearing cloth masks inside, and the face shields were available for teachers for outdoor use. I don't know if we've really had any teachers asked to pull the face shields out yet for in classrooms. So if you are feeling that that is the method that you want to use as a barrier, we'll work with that and see how it goes. Again, it's just like the mask. We're helping the kids learn appropriate times and inappropriate times to wear them. And if the face shield seems like it's not really helping protect others and your child from what's going on around them, then we'll help be in touch with you individually to kind of ask if other options might be available.
Okay, I'm trying to see here. There's a couple questions about if they have allergies and have stuffy runny noses due to allergies, are they still allowed in?
So that's where it's going to get a little complicated, and we're going to ask for your patience and understanding. We're not medical providers. So if you're being told by your family's physician through phone calls or Zoom chats or however you're doing that with your child, that these are their allergy symptoms, any information that the doctor's offices can be giving us and sharing with us, it can be an email, it can be something faxed over, just saying these are the symptoms they're seeing and this is what it's related to, that will help us. But we will probably go ahead and question it if the child's coming in with a lot of distress with those nasal congestion due to allergies. So that's one of those gray areas that we're going to kind of have to like work through together and figure out as we go.
Okay, I think we've either talked about most of them or they were more individual questions that I was able to answer. I think the only other one then was maybe just to re-say for the school age kids going to school and the masks, they are coming to us in the morning, they would have their mask on, they would go to school with that mask on, come back to us with that mask on, same mask. We would then wash it for them to use 2 days later or whenever they're coming back. But if they are switching, like if they are coming after school only, they would be put a mask on them in the morning that would be coming to us. I think that's the question that I'm seeing a couple different times.
Yeah, so like, again, it's if they're not here 5 days a week before and after school, if you're sending them to school with a mask, I'm assuming the mask is going to be coming with them out of school and we'll use that mask. But if they're here with us and using us consistently, we're going to be asking for that mask to stay here so that we can wash it and clean it and have it ready for them the next time they're with us in the morning to go to school. So you might want to have a backup mask that if they're doing part of the week with us and part of the week at school, that there's an extra mask there for school days that you're not using us, if we have it here and it's being washed and it didn't get handed back to you.
Okay, I think that's all I see. So as I said, if anyone comes up with something that they're thinking that they have a question either tonight or tomorrow or throughout the next few weeks, please feel free to email myself or Miss Charlotte. I'm trying to see if there's more questions popping up. Let me see here. Refrigeration for lunches.
The preschool rooms, yeah, the preschool rooms have refrigerators that we're able to use for the preschool lunches. The kindergartners also, we have a larger refrigerator in our kitchen area that we use for the kindergartners. The only group that sometimes, depending on the amount of students that are here that day, is our 1st through 5th graders. If there's like I mean, in years past, we've had 65 children registered in our 1st through 5th grade program. So if we would have that many children here in one day, obviously we don't have enough room for all of those lunch boxes in that large commercial size refrigerator, but we do our best to make sure that we're getting them in and refrigerated. And if it's a school closing day for school agers and you have the ability to put an ice pack or something that doesn't need to be refrigerated in that plastic bag, we could work with you with that and at least get the little ice bag back to you that was used to keep it cool in a paper or plastic bag. So we'll continue to kind of keep watching that. Again, feel free to email questions and all of the information, whether it was more of an individualized question or this overall center programming wide questions, we'll put together and we'll email out some answers to you so that you get a chance to see all of that and it'll get posted on our webpage. So we really appreciate everybody visiting tonight. we know this is strange and we would have loved to have everybody be in the building. So just know that you'll be seeing letters and pictures from the individual teachers in the next 2 weeks coming out, and you're always welcome to give us a call, and we're glad to help. So we really appreciate you stopping by this evening and spending an hour of your time with us to kind of help us make sure it's a smooth start to the school year, even though it's going to be a very strange and unusual school year ahead of us. So thank you.